Hello, everyone. This is David Mallick from Mello LLP. Today, we're going to be talking about the UHT. So what is UHT? It is the Underused Housing Tax. It was originally to be imposed upon foreigners who did not use houses owned in Canada, and it was a 1% tax that was going to be imposed on the fair value. This is not meant to be a definitive guide. I'm only trying to bring the information to people so that Canadians specifically know that they may be affected and that there are significant penalties. There could be a $5,000 or $10,000 penalty that applies, and it does affect Canadians. Situations that I encounter on a daily basis are a husband and wife who farm land and live on that farm. That farm was acquired in a partnership, and therefore it is a partnership asset, the house. And as such, they have to file one of these forms. Certain rental operations may be recorded as partnerships on the tax returns instead of co-owners. It's probably prudent for those people to file these forms and avoid the $5,000 penalties. Another client situation I run into very often. My name is on a property. I needed to do that so that my son or daughter could get a loan. Do I need to file one of these? Yes. You're a trustee holding that interest for your children, even though it's just a registration. The next question you might ask, well, what if I didn't know and I didn't file, or I didn't file my return on time? There are significant penalties if you fail to file an underused return when it is due. Affected owners, who we're going to go over in a minute, or individuals, are subject to a minimum penalty of $5,000. If they're corporations, a minimum penalty of $10,000. So if you go in here, when to file an election, it tells you it is due by April 30th of the year following the year in which you own this residence. There are 4 questions you need to ask if you are an affected owner. First, do I own any residential property? Second, am I a foreigner or a non-resident? If you are a foreigner and a non-resident and you have residential property, then you're likely to file this form. And if you can't find an exemption on the form, then you will have to pay the tax. The third question you have to ask of the 4 questions: do I own this residential property in a corporation? If yes, I must file. Do I own this residential property as a member of a partnership? If yes, each partner has to file, which could be you and your wife. Do I own this property or registered on this property in my capacity as a trustee? Then yes, you must file this. And the 4th question that we must ask is why? Why do I have to fill out 6 pages of information when I'm 100% certain from the beginning I have no tax owing? In fact, why must I file this at all? This is going to affect a lot of people. I've already run into situations. I expect about half of the people that are affected don't even realize it. The CRA has changed their deadline for the UHT filing this year from April 30th to October 31st, 2023. It still hasn't eliminated the burden that's there on all the Canadian taxpayers that are affected owners that still have to file this return or could be subject to a $5,000 penalty. So if you own rental property or residential property of any sort, even the one you live in, and that ownership is through a Canadian private corporation, Canadian partnership, or a trust situation where you don't even have ownership, but your name's on the property, you're required to file this or you're subject to the penalties that may be imposed therein.